Hi, my name is Wray Howard, and I'm a graduate of George Williams College in the class of '73. I currently live in Rockford, Illinois, where I have lived really since I graduated, so it's been quite a few years. I first learned of George Williams when I was fortunate enough to get a part-time job, and then ultimately led to a full-time job for a couple years at the Y there. So I had met some of these young fellows that had been, were program directors at that time at the Y, who'd been to George Williams. They'd talked about George Williams, and they were sort of my role models. I, really admired them. And so one of them particularly, Wiley Stafford was his name. He encouraged me to consider going to college. And without a high school degree, that was tough, but I was able to get admitted with his help into Bemidji College in Minnesota, Bemidji State College, for a year, and sort of got my feet wet in that arena, and then transferred to George Williams. Got a job at the Y in Chicago at the same time, working in the Logan Square branch in Chicago in the inner city, and commuting out to George Williams, which at that time had moved out to Downers Grove. And so worked at the Y, was going to school, so I didn't really have a sort of the typical college life in that, I was working full-time at the Y and commuting, and then I got married in my sophomore year, so had an additional issue there. But I do have some really fond memories of George Williams, even though I wasn't involved in the campus life so much. It was a great school in a lot of ways. We had small classes, and could really get to know the other students and the teachers particularly. You had access to teachers that you probably don't have in a bigger institution. But one of the fondest memories I have of George Williams was what they called at the time September Camp. And I remember one fall going out up to Lake Geneva and to the campus at Lake Geneva. And I learned how to sail and canoe and do all the kinds of outdoor education stuff that we did. I think every student that was in physical education, I was in health and physical education was my major, had to spend a couple of weeks at September Camp. And one of the things I remember was the most about it was one morning, Ed and Mary Langbine were teachers at the time there, and they got us up like at 5 o'clock in the morning or some ungodly time, and got us loaded into a van, and they took us up to Devil's Lake, Wisconsin, and we had to rock climb. And so they had us climbing up a face of a rock that was way higher than I'd ever climbed before, or any would ever want to climb again. And I remember getting up to the top, and Ed Langbine, who was a teacher there at the time, I was scared to death, but forced me to rappel back down the rock, and I remember tears coming to my eyes and the fear of that whole thing. But in some ways, obviously, what we were learning, of course, was what I've since have come to know as sort of that whole outdoor education experience that we did that we have at our Y camp, here in Rockford, and camps all over the country, where kids get to experience something that they maybe haven't ever experienced before, get outside of their comfort zone and really learn. And so I learned that day, how important that was and what that was all about. But it was a fond memory that I still have about George Williams, is the campus at Lake Geneva. I did an internship at the Leaning Tower YMCA in Chicago, and they were really cutting edge stuff. I mean, we were doing cardiac rehab at that time. They had full treadmill stress testing and working with a local hospital and physicians and stuff like that. So I had that experience of not only the science part of it and the coursework at school, but also the practical side of being in the community and working with a community and learning about the YMCA. So it was really my connection through, all the way through from when I first learned about George Williams College at my home YMCA in Canada, to getting a job at the Y through my connections at George Williams, and continues on even through today. I've had, in fact, most recently, one of the staff people that worked for me here in Rockford, actually went back to get his master's degree at George Williams College and actually ended up teaching at George Williams College. Chris Wells is had been one of their teachers there. He worked for me at the Y here. And so I've had a long connection with the college over many, many years. And my hope for, of course, I was really disappointed years ago when the college lost the campus in Downers Grove, and you know, was that real, you know, the Y connection is not the same as maybe it was many, you know, 40 or 50 years ago or 100 years ago as it was that I've known it. But I'm happy to see that, and I'm glad to see that there's an effort to try to really make the campus at Lake Geneva, the George Williams College, really an outstanding institution. And what I've seen Aurora University do with the campus there in terms of the facilities and the instructional programs and all the effort that's going on there, I think I'm really encouraged that you know, the human service type field, like YMCA stuff, that have been involved with, will continue for many years to come.